Hello.
Mhm. There we go. Excellent. Well, welcome everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. Let's get Karen in here. So I'm so excited for tonight. You are going to have this exclusive opportunity with my friend Rayna from Rebellious Resources. So Rayna and I met, and we both are members of Teresa Reed's Patreon, Teresa Reed, the Tarot Lady. And we started chatting, and she is awesome, and you're gonna love what she has to tell you tonight. So I will just let you take it away, Raina.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I have had so much fun talking with Patty, so I'm really excited to share some things with you folks. I'm going to be talking a bit about astrology tonight. So if you're new to astrology, the first thing I will just say is it can really feel like drinking from a fire hose. So don't try to get all the things all at once. We're recording this, and I will tell you right now, I have a workbook that I think I'll be able to pop in the chat, and if not, I'll send it to you, Patty, and you can
Okay,
send it out to folks. So,
awesome.
take notes if you want, but don't feel like you have to be trying to commit all of this to memory.
Mhm.
So, all right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So can everyone see that?
It
Not yet.
says that you have started screen sharing.
Okay.
Should we see something else?
Uh, okay.
There we go.
Yes. Okay, great.
Mhm.
So yeah, I restarted the internet and restarted the computer. I'm like, let's everyone play nice today.
Exactly.
But technology be like that.
hmm hmm
So, okay, so everyone can see
Yes.
that now.
hmm
Yes. All right.
Awesome.
Oops. Okay.
I love you, Raina's tagline, disrupting money culture. Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that is. So I'm going to just give you a little idea of who I am. But anyway, the focus tonight is on long-term planning with the lunar phase family. So there is a way to harness the power of the moon to manifest your goals and protect your resources. So all the disclaimers, I'm not, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, don't, just do your own research, but I'm sharing some things that have really worked for me. So a little bit about me. We've never met before, but my name is Rayna, and yes, I am the owner of Rebellious Resources. I come from a 25 plus year career in technical theater, so making all the magic happen backstage. I also own my own jam company. And through all of that, so much of what I saw was a lot of financial inequity and a lot of power inequity. And without realizing it, I was doing this type of work all along, but just not solely focused on it. So when the panini happened and I had to make some life shifts, I just kind of decided, let's take the stuff I've been doing as a financial advocate, advocating for myself, advocating for others, and let's do that without the like 17-hour days in a backstage or a hot kitchen. So, so yeah, I founded Rebellious Resources, and our focus is financial history, literacy, access, and inclusion. And yes, our goal is to disrupt money culture by blending the magical and the mundane. So we have a whole bunch of services that you can find on our website. And so, like I said, before we get started, astrology, it's like an onion. So, we're going to go one layer at a time, but don't feel like you have to grasp fully everything tonight. It's okay if you don't. Um, and also, there is no stupid question. So, if something doesn't make sense, you want to know a little more, please ask away. I can't see the chat, but I'll try to stop at certain points and ask if there are any questions. And like I said, don't worry too much about taking notes. Just stay curious, have fun, and let's get started. So when I talk about protecting your resources, what do I mean by that? I define resources as time, energy, money, body, mind, and soul. Now, our focus is disrupting money culture, but actually, in my opinion, money is the least important of these resources because it's the one that, is kind of a social construct. It can theoretically disappear tomorrow. Um, but let's go just one by one. Time, in my opinion, is the most important resource because we always have an ever dwindling supply of it and it can never be replenished, but we also don't know how much we actually have of it. You can, if you're Beyonce, you can hire someone to take some things off your plate so you can spend your time doing what you want, but most of us are probably just stuck with the actual time that we have. Energy, it can be easily depleted. I'm a spoonie, so if I'm in a flare or trying to get out of a flare, my energy can be really, really low and hard to replenish. So I personally have to be very mindful of where I put my energy. Money, like I said, goes up, goes down. We only get one meat suit, and I call it like the engine that can keep your life and your business running. And if our body is the engine, then our mind is like the battery that provides the spark to get that engine going. And finally, our soul, I feel like that is the navigation system that's going to tell you where you're going, how to get there. And when you've gotten off course, you'll kind of know, something just doesn't feel aligned. So when I'm talking about protecting your resources or planning out or manifesting, these are the six resources that I'm keeping in mind as I do that. So, if you're new to astrology, just some very, very basics here. Astrology is basically the movements, the relationships, and the conversations between our planets and our luminaries. Now, there are eight planets that we talk about in astrology and two luminaries. We don't include the Earth because we're on it right now, but the three planets that are considered our personal planets are Mercury, Venus, and Mars. These are the ones that move pretty quickly through the solar system. They'll change signs fairly often, and they're the ones that have the most impact on our day-to-day lives. Jupiter and Saturn, they're a little farther out, and so they're considered social planets. They move a bit more slowly, and they have slightly longer transits. So they're the ones that are really going to have a larger impact on how we interact with the world around us. And then all the way at the end, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are considered our outer or our generational planets. They are slow movers. They take a long time to go through a sign. And so these are ones that are really good for looking at eras or generational movements because they're going to have a very long arc, just like many other themes in history. So tonight, though, we're going to talk more about our luminaries, and that's the sun and the moon. They work together a lot. The moon will reflect the sun's light, and that's how we see the moon moving through the sky in its different phases. So, bit about the moon. If you're familiar with the moon from tarot, it's associated with our emotions, our intuition, our perception. It can be a bit about confusion. In mundane astrology, which is the astrology of world events, the moon in a chart is going to represent the masses, the people. It's going to represent public opinion. And so it can be very, very important in a mundane chart. If we're looking at a world event, we want to know what role do the people play in this. It moves very quickly. through each sign. It only spends about 2.5 days in each sign. So that means it's going to move through all 12 of the zodiac signs every 28 to 30 days. That means if you know what your moon is in your big three, you're going to experience a lunar return every month. And lunar returns are kind of like an emotional reset. When we talk about dignity, dignity means the essential dignity is where does this planet or luminary feel its best, and where is it not as happy? So, home for the moon is Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and when the moon is in Cancer, it is super duper happy. It can do its best work there. Think about when you come home, you're comfortable, you know where everything is, you know how to make it happen. It is exalted in Taurus, which is like of being a VIP guest. It can really shine there, but it's not its home. It's just, you know, there to shine and to be really happy, but it's not as happy as it is in its home. However, when the moon goes to Capricorn, now it's considered in its detriment. Detriment would be, things are just weird. Think of it like you're at a hotel. You don't quite know where the light switches are. Maybe the towels are a little scratchy. Why is the closet so small? It's not doing its best work. And finally, the moon is considered to be in its fall in Scorpio. This is why if you have a Scorpio, you've heard bad things about a Scorpio moon, or you have a Scorpio moon, it's considered a bad moon. I highly disagree. I love a Scorpio moon. Um,
That's good to
so I think it,
hear.
yeah, I think it gets a bad rap, but you're gonna hear that. And this is kind of why. When something is in its fall, it's considered an outcast and disgraced, and that it's all of these negative connotations. I think that was just written by a Scorpio hater, but you know. Um, but that is just a little bit about the moon. And because the moon is at home in Cancer, it rules the fourth house. Now, we're going to talk about these houses and these signs a little bit more in a moment, but we're just doing a snapshot here for how it relates specifically to the moon. The fourth house in an astrological chart is all about our home, our family, our founding principles, whether that's us as a person or a nation, a business, because they all have astrological charts too. And in mundane astrology, this is also the house of the average citizen or the country's founding. One thing that I love about the moon is it really is one of the easiest access points to astrology because it does go through all 12 signs every month. So if you miss a transit and you're trying to learn, how to work with it, well, guess what? You're having another chance the next month. And it's one of, I think, the best ways to understand how you work with different signs. So to give you an example, I've learned that I do my best work when the moon is in a fire or an earth sign. If the moon is in an air sign, and especially if it is in Gemini, I I need a personal helper. I don't know what I'm doing. I get distracted every 10 seconds, and I am a Gemini sun, so but I have just learned when the moon is in Gemini, make sure I've got my notes, turn the socials off. Don't let myself get distracted. And so I learned that because I was paying attention to how the moon moved through each month and where did I find consistency in how it was impacting me. Okay. So, working with the moon. Okay, so this is where the magical meets the mundane. You've maybe heard about manifesting on the new moon or setting new moon intentions. That's when we're going to, you know, tell the moon, tell the universe what it is that we want. And this really can help to jumpstart projects. But manifesting alone, it's not going to bring those goals to life. You do need to meet the universe halfway by actually doing some of the work. So it takes some planning plus manifesting. I call that planifesting. You are welcome to disregard that if you like.
I love that.
Um, but either way, we can't just say, I want, I want, I want. The universe is going to be like, cool, that sounds great. What effort are you putting into the equation, to make this happen? So, this is my approach to planifesting. Going back to our 6 resources, and all of these are meant to really help me get clarity in what I do and do not want, how I am going to get there, and what is the realistic time frame for making this happen. So, when it comes to time, we cannot go 24/7. I have to remind myself of that. When I don't remind myself of that, my body will remind me of that. So I have to be very realistic about both the time available and the time that whatever goal it is that I'm setting is actually going to take. And it does help tremendously to break the project into smaller pieces. That's going to give you a much better sense of what the real work is that's involved. Energy, like I said, it's going to come and go. So be prepared to pivot and adjust. And I do feel like, when you're manifesting, it's kind of like making a recipe. The quality of the ingredients that you use, that you put into it, are going to be reflected in the quality of the result that you get out of it. So if your energy is off, if the energy of that lunation is off, don't feel like you have to set an intention. If it doesn't feel aligned, it doesn't feel aligned. And I know there are definitely people out there who will scream, it's the such and such portal. This is the biggest lunation. Don't miss your chance. Okay, you know what? It's very car salesman, and that just doesn't work for me. So don't feel like you have to use a lunation or you'll miss the good energy. Um, Money, depending on what you're trying to do, there might be a financial cost to your goal. And even if there isn't, what is the return on investment that this that you're going or hoping to get from this manifestation? And if you are setting manifestations around improving your financial situation, that especially is, remember, it's going to take real life work. That's about, building your financial literacy skills, working through generational money stories and money wounds. It can be about, you know, any number of things, but it's going to take real work. Even if you manifested winning the lottery, if you don't have the money skills to protect those winnings, you might end up losing them all. Okay, the last 3 resources. I want everyone to say this with me. You don't have to come off, but say it with me. Rest is a requirement. It is not a reward. I know that capitalism and patriarchy will tell us otherwise, but it is absolutely a requirement. So again, this is where thinking about that goal really comes into play. A goal that is going to wear you out is perhaps not always going to be the best. There are times, I will say this, there are times that I've set a goal that I knew was going to exhaust me. It was an intentional choice because it was basically a short-term suck for a long-time goal, for a long-time benefit. And so I made the decision that I was going to do this for X amount of time. I was going to be unhappy about it, but the reward was ultimately going to be worth it. Um, your mind, how thought out is your goal? are there steps that are unclear that where maybe you need to do more research, where you perhaps need to bring in someone else that has skills that can support you? And know yourself. Can you stay focused on tasks? That's, not if it's a Gemini moon that I can't. And lastly, your soul. Does this align with your soul's calling? Now, not every manifestation we set is going to be for our higher selves. Sometimes we just need to do it to support a mundane need. But at the end of the day, with whatever it is that you're setting and you're working towards, kind of like with the energy, make sure your soul knows its why. Why are you setting this? What does it mean to you? Because if you are not invested in it, you're not going to be as likely to achieve it. So just because it is a Cancer moon doesn't mean you need to take on a house project. Okay. So so actually before I go, does anyone have questions? Anyone have comments?
Just a yeah question. So
Okay.
should so like you were saying, like when the moon's in Gemini,
Hmm.
that forget it. All
Yeah,
bets are off for you. So did you you tracked it every month so
I
that you
did.
knew? Okay.
Hmm.
So we should track
Yeah.
that and then see what the commonalities
Hmm.
are. I
Yep.
love that. I'm excited
Yeah.
to do that. Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, that is one thing that I love about the moon because then once you sort of understand how you work with the signs with the moon, um, you can then expand that out. Well, if I know that I'm kind of a ding dong during Gemini moon season, that explains why, even though I'm a Gemini sun, kind of a ding dong during Gemini season. When the sun is moving through Gemini season, I tend to just not be at my best. So yeah, I tracked it, and the great thing about the moon is you've got like 12 chances a year to really work with that, and so you can see where the consistency is.
That's exciting. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so we're ready to go?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So the lunar phase cycle itself. As the moon moves around, and if you are like me and like to go out on the lawn and stare at the moon, you might be aware of this, but the lunar phase cycle is spread over about 28 to 30 days. There are four main points that we're going to talk about tonight. And there are actually many more phases of the moon. You can break it down into like 1 day increments. We're not going to be that tedious with life. We're just going to focus on the big four. Think about it as, your 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock on a clock dial. So we start a cycle with the new moon. That is when the sun and the moon are conjunct. They're at the same degree of the same sign in the sky. They're having a little conversation with one another. Hey, how you doing? Catching up on things. This is when you want to set your intentions on what you're wanting to achieve. Now, ideally, you'd be able to align those goals with the sign and the house that the moon and sun are in, the new moon is in. But, that might be one of those onion layers on astrology. So if you can't start there, that's okay. About 7, 8 days later, we have our first quarter moon. Now the moon and the sun are squared. They're at a right angle. And that's kind of a challenging aspect. And this can show us where challenges might exist for the new moon intentions that we set. If we haven't already started to take action on those intentions, now is definitely the time to start. But if we have and we've encountered problems, now we can course correct. About 7 to 8 days later, we have a full moon. Now they are in opposition to one another. And this can create tension. Full moons can be pretty intense, so that's not a good or a bad thing. It's just they can feel intense to some people. Um, I use full moons as a time to launch a project into the world or to release something that I want to grow. So you might release an offering on a full moon. We're starting a new class, or new whatever. Um, it may, though, also that this is a time of culmination and illumination. We might see the truth about something. Something may come to light during a full moon. That can be good. That can be not so good. Um, but I think knowing the truth about something is always in the end going to be good because now you can deal with it honestly. And finally, about 7 to 8 days later, we have our last quarter moon. So the moon and the sun have moved around again. They're once again squared. And this is another challenging aspect. And this is the time I look at to release what no longer serves. It's a time for clearing out things, cleaning up from this cycle. We're going to reset the room for the next new moon cycle that's coming in. And if anything was revealed during the full moon, this would kind of be the time to make sure you're dealing with it. So do all of those make sense? We are going to see how they all work in actual transits. But the basic concepts clear? Yeah. Okay. So before we talk about the signs and houses, just going to go through a couple more astrology basics. Every sign has both a modality and is aligned with an element. There are three modalities, and you can think of them like I don't know if you can see the cursor here, but I'm going to show you like a quadrant of this chart. So each quadrant has a cardinal, fixed, and mutable sign in it. Cardinal is the start. It's about initiating, beginning things. Fixed modalities are more about stability, about doing the work, and a mutable sign prepares us for change. When we look at the four elements that are associated with the signs, air has a lot to say about our mental processes, our thoughts, our communications. Fire is about passion and energy. The earth is much more grounded and practical, doing the daily work type of energy. And water has a lot to say about our emotions and our intuition. So, and each one of these would have, cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable, and it just repeats all the way around. So, putting that all together, and again, you don't have to remember all of these, but I just want to give you a breakdown of how this all works so that when we're talking about the moon moving through signs, you have an idea of what each of those signs is bringing to the table, what their flavor is, so to speak. So Aries rules the first house. It is a cardinal fire sign. Think about Aries, bold leadership. It is associated with battle. Aries is the god of war. And the first house has a lot to say about our self, our identity, and new beginnings. The second house is ruled by Taurus, which is a fixed earth sign, very grounded, all about our resources, our value. It values quality over quantity. And this is the house that has a lot to say about our personal finances, how we deal with money, and what it is that we value. Gemini rules the third house. It is a mutable air sign. It's all about curiosity and communication. And it's the house that talks about media, short distance travel, internet, our social media. So all about that curiosity. That is me when the moon is in Gemini. I'm like, oh, what's over here? What's over there? Um, Cancer, we talked a little bit about. It's the fourth house. It's a cardinal water sign. So we're starting a new quadrant here. It has a lot to say about our home, our family, food, the mother, and it is the house of our homeland, our childhood, whatever our foundational principles are. Fifth house is a fixed fire sign. It's ruled by Leo. And think about, Leo is the lion. Think about the lion's pride. It's all about ego, heart, but also this is the house of children, our creativity, our projects, how we spend our leisure and entertainment time. It's a lot about having fun. And directly next to that, and in somewhat of an opposition, is Virgo, which rules the sixth house. Virgo is a mutable earth sign that is all about details, planning, organizing. This is our house of work, house of health, and our daily routines. Virgo, their backup plans have backup plans. So those are the first six signs in the first six houses. Moving on, Libra, it rules our seventh house. That is a cardinal air sign. Libra is all about beauty, art, peace, diplomacy, relationships. And this house has a lot to say about our committed partnerships that may or may not be romantic relationships. It's also the house that rules foreign affairs and open enemies in mundane astrology. The eighth house is another one that gets a bad rap. It's ruled by Scorpio, which is a fixed water sign, and Scorpio is very comfortable with all of the things that make folks uncomfortable. They're all about the occult, taboo, money, sex. This is the house that holds the things we just don't want to deal with, like taxes, debt, death, shared resources. Sagittarius, this is the one house and sign I'm going to ask you to pay a little extra attention to because we're going to be talking about this a little bit more as we go on. Sagittarius is the natural ruler of the ninth house. It's a mutable fire sign, and you think about fire as an element, it's already very mutable. It's changing, a solid into not so solid anymore. Sagittarius is all about freedom, truth, learning. Um, it is the house that rules law, religion, publishing, long distance travel. And in mundane astrology, this is also the house that is associated with the judicial branch or the judiciary system. Capricorn, we're starting that last quadrant here. Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign and it's called the CEO of the zodiac. It's very much about government, business, structure. This house has a lot to say about our career, our public image, and our reputation. It is also the house that is associated with the executive branch in mundane astrology. Aquarius rules the 11th house. It's a fixed air sign that is all about innovation, science, space. Aquarius gets a reputation for kind of being out there. And this house has a lot to say about our goals, our social groups, our friendship, but also social justice. And this house is associated with the legislative branch in mundane astrology. Finally, last but not least, Pisces rules our 12th house. It is a mutable water sign. Remember, mutable is all about change. And think about water. Water flows. Water is going to release and just go everywhere. So Pisces has a lot to say about our intuition, our dreams, and releasing. This is the house of endings. It's the house of self-undoing, limitations, and also hidden enemies. It's where the whole zodiac, releases before we start anew in Aries. So, Now let's go ahead and put those together by looking at an upcoming new moon cycle that is actually going to start this week, to start on Friday. So we have a new moon this December 19th. It's at 28 degrees Sagittarius. So this is where I'd like us to get a bit interactive. Um, I'd like you to think about going back to those Sagittarius themes. What are some intentions that you could set at this new moon, knowing that you've got this 28 to 30 day cycle, these upcoming phases to work on completing? Does, and I'm happy if people want to come off and talk about it or even ask questions. You don't have to, but
Is it a good idea to set intentions in that? So Sagittarius being, um, I, I just think my husband's a Sagittarius. He's like the poster child. He's like, he's all over the place. He has every interest, right? So would it
it's
be,
very YOLO energy.
yeah, right. So would it be, so would your intentions be around like more of a Sagittarius vibe, or could it be anything?
So it could be anything, but I would look to what are some Sagittarius themes and are any of those coming up in my life
Mm,
to that I can get this added boost to. Now, sometimes it's not going to align.
mm,
Um, but if there is something around travel, if there is something around higher learning, you want to take a class, if there's something uh, around law or religion, freedom, these are all things that are associated with Sagittarius. Um,
so it'd be a good idea to get my travel plans together. Is that
It could be a great time to get your travel plans together, especially since
okay?
Mercury, which is our ruler and also uh, the planet of travel, is going to be in Sagittarius as well. So you're getting an extra boost there.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Good. So we're all making travel plans now.
So I'm kind of curious, do you follow
Yeah.
this cycle every month and try to, take advantage of the phases of the moon to kind of go through this exercise?
So that's a great question. I do try. I don't succeed every month, and like I said, some months it's just not aligned. Um,
Mhm.
But I have found that using this, especially for me, is kind of like having um the bumpers at the bowling alley. It helps me
Mm,
eventually get to my goal instead of going off into other lanes, which I
mhm,
might be a little bit more apt to do without it. But it gives me the opportunity to say, okay, this is what I want to start. This is where I want to be in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Some months I've made it, others I haven't. Some months I've exceeded it. Sometimes I've reached my goal before the full moon, and that's awesome. But I have found that trying to sit down with this and give myself these goalposts has been incredibly helpful.
yeah, nice structure.
Hmm. Without rigidity.
Mm.
Yeah. So does anyone want to share some other intentions they might set or have questions about intentions they might set?
Well, Patty mentioned travel, so I will say kind of my intention for the new year is to do more traveling. So, um, so like I might set here, like arranging for for some travel in January.
Okay. That would be
Like
great.
January, yeah.
Yeah. That could be really, really great. And Mercury's direct, so you've got that on your side. So, all right. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. All right. So, um, you heard me say this is about long-term planning, and 1 month is not very long term. But now that we've looked at the lunar phase cycle, I'm going to tell you about the lunar phase family. So the lunar phase cycle, we're going to take those same four phases and now spread them over 27 months. A new phase is going to occur approximately every 9 months, and it will occur at approximately the same degree and sign as the new moon. So this can be used, you're using the same basic principles, except now you're going to apply it instead of something that's going to be accomplished within a month, you're going to use this for a long-term project. And these are also really great for tracking mundane astrology and world events because oftentimes those things happen on a longer, slower arc. And so this can really, looking at lunar phase families, can help put them in perspective. So just to show you, just to go back 1 second, we have a new moon in Aries, but if you, excuse me, Sagittarius, but if you notice the first quarter is at Aries, the full moon is at Cancer, the last quarter is at Libra. I wouldn't try to adjust your manifestation to meet all of these needs. I would really just look at that Sagittarius energy. Um, But if you notice, over the month, the moon isn't going to stay in the same sign. It's going to move around. So when we look at the lunar phase family, we're going to take those same four phases, and now I'm going to show you where they are in their own families. So this new moon on December 19th is going to start a brand new lunar phase family that will take us all the way through March of 2028. You notice that it starts this Friday at 28 degrees Sagittarius. Then we have a first quarter moon in September of next year at 25 Sagittarius, the full moon in June of 2027 at 27 degrees Sagittarius, and our last quarter will be in March of 2028. So it's the same concept, those same four goalposts, but spread over a much longer period of time, and they all stay within the same sign. Um, we look at the upcoming first quarter moon. That is our second goalpost in a lunar phase family that began in March earlier this year. We had a solar eclipse at 9 degrees Aries, and this is the first quarter, the taking action or course correction that corresponds with that. And our full moon on January 3rd will be that third goalpost in a family that began all the way back in July 2004. And the last quarter that's coming up closes out a lunar phase family that began in October of 2023. That was also a solar eclipse. So that's just for reference to see how they all work within a bigger picture. Does that make sense to everyone?
It's interesting that it's like 9 months. That's
Yeah.
so it's like these female cycles, right? It's like having a
Uh-huh.
baby. That's
Uh-huh.
interesting.
You're birthing a new leg of the
Yeah.
project
Hmm.
every 9 months. Yeah, it is interesting. Okay. So going back to the new moon that is going to occur on this Friday. Now, if we take those same concepts and spread them out over 27 months, we can look at those same Sagittarius themes, but on a bigger, larger scale, something that we might not be able to accomplish in a month. But now we can also set this larger goal with this new moon. So, for example, I'll share with how I am going to work with this new moon. The big goal that I'm going to set is to learn another foreign language, hopefully more proficiently than I've done some of the other ones. So a couple of years ago, I had tried to learn Mandarin, and I found out very quickly that was a wrong choice for me. There are too many characters, too many elements. I needed someone very much to hold my hand through that, and I didn't have the time or energy to put towards it. But I love K-dramas and I love K-pop, and I would love to understand what they're saying. So I looked at learning Korean, and Hangul seems to have fewer letters, fewer rules, more of a system. It seems to be more accessible than Mandarin was. So I am going to use this 27-month cycle to learn Korean. And I would love, ideally, I would love to go to Korea. I don't know that that travel is going to actually happen, but can I get to the point where I, you know, can listen to a K-pop song and sing along and understand what they're saying? Can I, watch my K-drama without needing the captions on? Can I go to my favorite Korean restaurant and order correctly, my meal? So those, I could be looking to be able to do that by the full moon or, by the time I reach that last quarter moon. Um, so, how I'm going to use this, I'm going to set that intention. I've gotten ahead on it because I've already looked at some resources, but maybe by the first quarter moon, I'm at the point where I can start doing, whether it's real life or virtual meetups where I'm able to start practicing with someone else to learn the language, you know. And that's kind of how I'm approaching it. I might move more quickly or more slowly in achieving that goal. Might not achieve it at all. I don't know. But that is one of the ways that I'm using this energy. So, would anyone like to share how they might want to use it or have some questions on this?
I have no idea, but I like that idea because I struggle with setting goals. So I like this idea of having like a more of a micro goal for the month,
Hmm.
but then this longer term
Hmm.
that I like that idea.
Yeah. And so if you found that some of your travel plans weren't going to happen within, weren't possible by now, you could then look at, well, can they happen within this 27-month cycle? Are
Mm-hmm.
there other challenges like maybe you're going somewhere you need a visa? Maybe,
Mm.
oops, my passport needs to be renewed. Things like that. Or you've
Right.
never traveled, so this would be the time to think about, okay, you know what? If I want to travel, I need to get that passport. In order to get the passport, I need to get my birth certificate, my this, my that, my the other thing. So that is one way. And I mean, I'm focusing on the foreign travel, but that's not the only Sagittarius theme
Mm.
here. That's just
Mm.
one way that it could be used. So, any other questions?
I
Yeah.
do I do a lot of energy work utilizing the lunar phases. I usually launch a particular project at the new moon. I'm particularly connected with Kalak, the Gaelic goddess of
Okay.
winter and dark things. So it's always a good time to start things. And then I wind them up. So a lot of my projects take easily a month to complete and work on. I haven't really thought about utilizing this for financial goals, but oddly, my financial advisor, who's a relative, is coming tomorrow, and we're going to sit down and launch some things for next year. So this would be a good time to set some intentions to run over the next 27 months. That's actually this is very timely. In terms of
They
travel,
absolutely, yeah, they could be. I would say Sagittarius is also very good for research and learning. So, um, you might want to take this lunation, depending on what the financial goal is. You might want to take this lunation to do a little bit more research and learning about whatever this financial goal is that you want to achieve. And then next, the next full moon is our Capricorn full moon. Capricorn has a lot to say about business, structure, money. It's ruled by Saturn. So if you're going to need discipline for achieving that goal, setting it on the Capricorn new moon could be really beneficial to you.
good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions before we move on?
When is the Capricorn new moon?
When is the Capricorn new moon? That is a great question. Don't have my ephemeris. I don't think I have my
That's
ephemeris
okay.
with me right now. Um, but it would be in if this is on the 19th, it's got to be like probably around January 16th. Let me see if I can look it up. Um, Probably can.
And that would
And
be good for, go
Capricorn's, oh, go ahead.
ahead. That would be good for making business decisions and
It
planning.
could be. It could be. All of Capricorn season is great for working on business, structure, money, finance. Capricorn is all about those things. CEO uh themes, CEO energy.
Okay, that's good to know.
I think it's
Yep.
January 18th is what I.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Da-da-da. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong year. Haha. That's right, because we'll be in 2026.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, so it's going to be on January 18th.
Okay,
So, but we'll be getting into Capricorn season itself early next week. So you've got a whole lot of time to do planning to work with that energy and really drill down what it is that you want to set for that new moon intention.
great.
So,
Oh boy, Sue, you got your work cut out for you.
Oh, so do you, Patty.
so I thought it would be interesting to go ahead and take a look at these phases on how they're impacting a chart that we're all kind of familiar with, even if we don't realize it, and that's the chart of the US. So this is going to be a new moon phase family that is where the sun and the moon are both sitting right at this point, 28 degrees of Sagittarius. That's in the first house of the US. This is going to set off a 27-month cycle that is going to have a lot to say about our national identity, who we are as a nation, who we are as Americans. And so if you're struggling to think um of an intention to set this new moon, or even if you want to add this in, think about what it means to you to be an American. What do you want this national identity to be? What part do you want to play in that? So And I know it kind of looks like we're moving backwards here, but remember it's 9 month cycles. So if we go 9 months, um, we're going to, right? Yes. Okay. Yes. Our first quarter moon will be September of next year at 25 Sagittarius. Now, the moon will remain in that, the sun will be over here in Virgo. It's also going to be conjunct Neptune, which is in the natal US chart. Neptune is not my favorite planet. It has a lot to say about our dreams, but it also rules things like illusions, delusions, addiction, illness, cults. We've kind of been dealing with some of those themes for a while. So I don't love that the sun is going to be over there, but again, we have no idea how these things are going to play out. I just think it's very interesting how this lunar phase family is going to impact this chart. So if we look 9 more months after that, now we're at the full moon. Again, that's moon is still in the Sagittarius first house, but now it's in opposition to the sun, which is in Gemini. And that sun will be sitting on the natal Mars of the US. Mars is about opposition. It's about leadership and boldness, but in mundane astrology, it does also have to I have a lot to say about conflict and um, police, military matters. I don't love that it's in opposition to the moon, which represents we the people. Don't love that. But again, we have no idea how this will play out. And finally, we go another 9 months to that last quarter moon, and we have the square again. The moon is still over here in the first house of Sagittarius, but the sun is now in the third house in Pisces, closing out the cycle. So I think it's going to be an interesting cycle to see how it works on the national level. Um, this Mars over here is in the seventh house, which again has a lot to say about our committed partnerships, foreign affairs, our open enemies. So that that's a whole thing to look forward to. But
Woohoo!
energy is mutable. We can
That's
always
right.
take these things and work them for the higher good. Um, and then remember I said that the upcoming full moon I thought was going to be has the potential to be very interesting. This is the third installment of a lunar phase family that began all the way back in July of 2024. So that new was at 14 degrees Cancer. Our natal sun is at 13 degrees Cancer um, for the US. So it was right on there. The moon and the sun were right on that natal sun. They were having a big old conversation. If we flash forward 9 months, now, the moon is still here in Cancer, but the sun has moved into Aries in the fourth house. Remember, the fourth house is a lot about our foundation, the average citizen. Well, what was going on April 4th, 2025? That's when we had a lot of the tariff wars coming to light. There were a flurry of executive orders. Doge was decimating the federal government. We were pissing off our partners, our foreign, partners left and right. So that was definitely that challenging energy. Now we go 9 months, we're in that opposition. So the moon is still over here in Cancer on that sun, but now the sun is in Capricorn in the first house. Remember, Capricorn has a lot to say about government, about structure, about how we how this country is run as a business. And there's going to be some opposition there. Now, what exactly is comes to culmination or is revealed on this full moon, I couldn't tell you. But I'm going to be paying very close attention to the news during that time frame. And this will all close out. The last quarter moon will be October of 2026. Um, Now, I don't love this because this is October is right before we are set to have the 2026 midterm elections. And we look at where this sun is now sitting. It's in Libra. Libra is a lot about law, diplomacy, justice, but it's going to be conjunct the natal Saturn. Saturn is great for structure and discipline, but it can also be about restriction. So, will the sun be trying to restrict we the people? Better not. Better not. So that's just some ways to see it happening on that larger scale. World events are sometimes a little bit easier to see how it all works out.
Can we move the
Um,
planets at any time? Can we?
yeah, right.
Can we?
I mean, there's a lot, there are many other things going on with that chart that we're just not going to talk about right now.
Yeah, yeah, we're good.
And one last thing I wanted to say is that our Luna phase family usually is going to stay in the same sign, but that's not always the case because sometimes that transit might be at the end or the beginning of a sign. And so as we go through the next quarters, it's going to switch. So a great example of this is the lunar phase family that began September 21st this year. We had a 29-degree Virgo solar eclipse. Now, the signs are only 30 degrees long. 29, it's right at the end. It's about to change signs into Libra. And that's exactly where we end up during the first quarter moon that we get on June 2026. And you'll see it stays in Libra for that full moon in March 2027 before going back into Virgo for the last quarter. So when something like this happens, I would look at the energies of both of those signs and see if they somehow work together. So Virgo's all about details, but Libra has a lot to say about law. So is there some sort of legal project that I want to make sure I have all my ducks in a row, all of my papers correct, I've really thought out, I have the information accurate? Maybe it's something like that that I could use this for. So all right. And a few final tips. Working with these cycles is going to be an ongoing process. Start small. You can always add in layers as you go. And as you are trying to come up with the manifestations and your goals, be specific, but not too restrictive. Clarity is always going to be your friend. And allow yourself the room to learn and make mistakes. You don't need to do this every single month. If you do it maybe once a quarter, you know, that's fine. Just have fun, give yourself the room to work with it, and just build as you go. All right. So, does
Awesome.
anyone have any questions? Thoughts, comments,
Quiet group
criticisms? I
tonight.
can take it.
Everybody's in the December coma.
I'll probably think of them after we hang up.
Yeah. Mhm. It's just it never fails to surprise me how detailed astrology is, and it freaks me out a little. if I'm honest.
I get that. I get that.
I
Um,
was sorry.
yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I was thinking about working with the elements this year
Okay.
and learning more about the elements and
Yeah.
playing with them. I don't know, any guidance in terms of which to start
Well,
with or
that that could be your Sagittarius intention.
Hmm.
Because it's about higher learning. It doesn't have to be a foreign language. I'm just choosing that.
hmm,
Is a topic you want to learn more about and elevate your skills on, Sagittarius is a great time to set that. It's a very curious sign. It just wants to explore, does not always think about the consequences of that. I mean, it will, it sees a keep out sign and that's just an invitation, like, well, I've got to know. Um, so I would definitely set an intention for that. And are you looking for resources to build those skills or
yeah, I mean, I guess just be doing some research and um I lead mindful outdoor experiences, and so I wanted to bring the elements into, um, in some way, like some activity or just awareness of each of the elements on like different walks is what I'm
Mm,
thinking.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's wonderful. So I mean, I'm going to plug myself. We do have a Patreon, talk a lot about the astrology and tarot aspects there, but any book by Teresa Reed is going to be a must have. She has some excellent and I think very accessible um let me see. Can I reach any of them? Um just anything by Teresa Reed is going to be very beginner friendly. Um, and she will also take you through some of the elements there so you can combine those. And I would say, in the workbook that I'm going to send you, we have the modalities and the elements with each sign and house. So take a look at how, you know, take 1 month and look at how you react to each of these lunations. Try to spend just a bit of time with each element as you go through them and learn a little bit more about your connection to them. That could be a way to incorporate that.
Great. Thank you.
So, yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody
Who else?
else? Mhm. Well, Raina, this was certainly information packed. My goodness.
I
This was
I
awesome.
tried to actually keep it very, very streamlined.
No,
So,
this is
and this is
great.
where you can find me,
Yes. I was
if
gonna
you
say.
have questions, you're welcome uh, to reach out and happy to try to help as I
Awesome.
can.
That was
Thank you
great.
so
Thank you.
much.
You're
Yeah, thanks,
welcome.
you.
So let
Hmm.
me see. I think that we can now, I don't know if I can add the workbook to the chat. Is it going to let me do that?
Oh no. I have never done that. If not, just yeah, send it to me and
Okay.
I'll post it on the Patreon.
This was awesome. You know me, though. I have to hear this astrology stuff like 432 times
Oh,
before it
I
starts to
know.
sink in. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
so
All
I'll be
right. It looks
listening
like
a
it's
couple more
not letting
times.
me do that, but I
Okay.
will send it to you, Patty.
Okay,
And
cool.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So astrology, like I said, it is very much like it can be like drinking from a fire hose. So these are meant to be like very basic frameworks. And like I said, I think the moon is great for getting to know the signs, getting to know the elements, getting to know the modalities, because it does move so quickly. Like if you wanted to work with the sun, sun's going to be in something for 30 days. And if you like kind of miss it, you've got to wait a whole other year before you get the other chance. So, I think it's a great starting point. It's low pressure, and I think it's also one because the moon does rule our emotions. We can really look at how am I reacting? How am I feeling? And if you can tune into that, you're going to get a pretty clear sense of how that sign, element, modality works for you. And then next step is expanding it out. And, okay, well, if this is how I am during the moon phases, how can I use this energy during the solar seasons? How can I maybe use this with Mercury? Because Mercury moves through everything so quickly. So it's the gateway drug to astrology.
I will also recommend Yasmin Boland's Moonology course. Are you familiar with that, Raina?
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
so she did, I did that during COVID. She has a whole course just on the moon
Oh,
and it was really good. Yep. So
okay.
I think if you took that plus your Patreon, oh my God,
Hmm.
boom, what a powerful combination
Awesome.
that would be. Mhm.
Yeah. So the workbook that you have, you're also going to get the four sheets for the four lunations that we just talked about. I do also have a lunar outlook on my Patreon. So every time we have a phase, we kind of look at how that is, how it's doing its thing. Um, so yeah, hopefully that is helpful. Hopefully you've
Awesome.
found
Yeah.
this interesting enough to want to learn more.
Yeah, very cool.
I did. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Oops, did we lose Patty?
I think we lost Patty.
Uh-oh. Oh
Whoopsie,
no.
Well,
we lost her.
Oh
well,
no,
thank
Patty.
you.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
you're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. Okay, she's
Oh my
back.
God. I don't know what happened. Like everything just like
You know
blacked
what?
out in the house. We had
Zoom
like a
keeps updating things. I'm like, can you stop? I need you to do one thing and one thing only.
Right, exactly. And not
I
during
don't
a
need the
call.
enterprise here. So,
Well,
so you're
thank
welcome. I'm
you
so glad
so
that
much,
you enjoyed
Raina.
it.
This was fantastic. I think this is the motivation we all need to start 2026 with a bang. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah,
mhm,
2026.
it's
I think we're
wild.
all side-eyeing that year.
I
Like,
know exactly. It's like, oh, we've been fooled before. So,
yeah, yeah. This decade has been a thing.
it sure
Um,
has.
but
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
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 So,
Well, thank
thank
you.
you all
And
for being so gracious. Patty, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I
absolutely.
had a
Yep.
great time.
And your website one more time is Rebellious
Website
Resources.
is rebelliousresources.com. You can find us on Patreon at Rebellious Resources, Substack at Rebellious Resources, Blue Sky at Rebellious Resources.
Easy,
Kept the branding pretty
easy.
consistent.
Excellent. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you, and thank you all. And I will send an update about, we're supposed to meet on Thursday. I will send an update about that. So, um, yeah, have a great night, everybody.
All
Thanks for
right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
joining
Good
so
night.
in.
much. Thank you. Have a great
Thank
night.
you. Good
Bye.
night.
Awesome. Okay.